Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Six Figure Souls, Doing Good and Making Money. My name is Camille Miller. I am your host and also the founder of the Natural Life Business Partnership, a global network for soul-centered entrepreneurs. Today, I am interviewing someone very special, Lauren Zoeller out of Nashville, Tennessee. She is a certified love and relationship coach, motivational speaker, and founder of Balanced Boss Company. Hi, Lauren. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, I'm so excited. Thanks, Camille.
Me too. Before we turned on the camera, I was telling you what the summit is about. So I am just going to reiterate a little bit, just in case this is the first one you're watching. This summit is really here to highlight soul-centered entrepreneurs or people that have stayed aligned with their true authentic self or their faith and built six-figure businesses around it. So I love your story. So wanted to talk a little bit about your journey because you always say you came from a place of overcoming deep shame. And now you help other entrepreneurs kind of in that same space. And I love that you've tied it in with love and relationships because, you know, I have my own story there. But I think there's also a lot of, especially women entrepreneurs. I don't know if you do specialize just in women.
I do. I work with high-performing executive women. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I can tell you just from myself, sometimes the business goes so far ahead of it, or I can't find someone that's kind of aligned where I am. And I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm just not going into that space. So I'd like dip my toe and come back. So I want to hear if you could tell us a little bit about your story and how you became who you are.
Yeah. So I love that you asked that question because it's been a pretty up and down journey. But what I love so much and what resonated with me when you asked me to speak is that it really, the name and the term soul-centered is something that was not at the heart of my coaching business when I first started. So it's incredible to see where it's expanded. So I actually started in the coaching space working with executives, any executive. I wasn't streamlined. I didn't have like a really specific niche.
Okay.
I just was working with executives in the corporate field to help them balance work with life. So that's where the Balanced Boss Company stemmed from 6.5 years ago. And I was really in this life coaching space. Well, when I started working with these executives, what naturally happened is that after I got them through these blocks that they were really struggling with in their own personal life, they started coming to me saying, you know, I don't think that this corporate gig is for me. I think that there's something else. Like, I feel like I'm meant to do something bigger. Right. Can you talk to me about how you started your coaching practice? So at that time, at about 2.5 years in, I was like, well, not really. Like, I'm not a business coach. I'm just a life coach, but I could talk you through it. That is what stemmed Balanced Boss Academy, which is where I started teaching these corporate executives how to launch a consulting practice alongside their corporate job. So about 4.5 years into migrating from life coaching to business coaching, which was like a huge shift for me, I woke up one morning and I felt this deep ache in my belly that something wasn't aligned. I was like, I like business coaching. It's great. Like, I've reached a certain amount of success with it, but I'm just not busting through the income ceiling. Like, I know that I'm meant for something greater. It doesn't feel like it's aligned in my soul, right?
It's staying in your lane of joy.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I was not there. I was not there. So what I like to say is that I had built this business that was successful, but it was built on a house of cards. Like, it was just cards underneath it. There was no stable foundation. So I had to start doing my own soul searching and realize, okay, what was it that I wanted? At that time, I was single and I was dating toxic man after toxic man. It was like, I wasn't really practicing what I was preaching in regards to my client. All I was doing was throwing myself into work like 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week, where I was grinding. I was coaching a lot of people, but I wasn't soul-centered. Like, there was no sense of deep fulfillment. Right. So I started to do my own work at about 4.5 years in. And I started to really examine the subconscious blocks that were keeping me stuck and really looked deep into my limiting beliefs. and had this huge, what I like to call awakening, that ultimately led me to where I am now, which is I ended up attracting in an aligned partner. My business, I finally bust through the income ceiling that I had hit from, I was stuck at 6 figures for 2 years. I couldn't break through that 6-figure mark. And once I started to do the work and really kind of dug into those subconscious beliefs, everything opened up and everything aligned for me. And I was like, you know what? I love helping people in their business, but where I'm really passionate is helping women just like me tap into and clear these blocks so that they can step into deep fulfillment in their career and call in an aligned conscious partner and have everything that they want for themselves, right? Like financial freedom, everything that they have been asking for. So I made the migration into a love and relationship coach about like a year and a half ago is really kind of when I settled in. So Balance Boss Academy is still a thing. I hired a master coach. We have a full team that Jess is my master coach. She's so in line with helping coaches and consultants start their practices, their online coaching and consulting practices. But as far as me, I am in the space of helping women really call in aligned love. And it is so soul-centered.
Well, I love how you broke off a piece too. When it didn't serve you, you kept it.
Yeah.
You just put someone else in charge, but you kept that brand.
Exactly. Yeah. And it is. Yeah. We still serve people. Like there's a piece of my heart in it, but I knew from an alignment standpoint that it wasn't my story, right? It wasn't what I was here to do. I had to have that conversation, just like you said, like, what is my lane of joy? It wasn't there, but it was someone else's lane of joy.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's beautifully put. All right. So you mentioned so many things I want to talk about. And one was getting stuck at that 6-figure mark, which I think happens to a lot of entrepreneurs. And I think it's a couple different things. So I'd love to just, unpack that a little bit. One, I think it's mindset, which you kind of straddled there, right? It's kind of that mindset and breaking through and believing that you can do it. And I think the other one is when you're working in a space that doesn't fit you, right? You said you didn't find joy in it, and that's why. And that's also attached to the mindset of maybe you weren't happy. And what if this did take off? Is this the space I really want to be? Sometimes that's your subconscious belief. Like you're not taking off on purpose. You don't acknowledge it, right? But
yeah,
if you were successful, is this really where you want to be? Or if I made all the money, is that really what I want? So just want to see some of your thoughts on that. If you think that was it when you're not in your lane of joy, or was it completely a mindset thing? So it sounded like you shifted your mindset and then broke through.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a combination of both things. I mean, because here's the deal. Like you can have all the systems, you can have all the tools in the world, right? Like, and I had all of the tools. Like I knew everything I needed to do to have my calendar full with potential clients. I had everything that I needed to crush sales calls. I had everything that I needed, right, to be able to be successful, to call people into my business. But because I wasn't in true alignment, like my mind was self-sabotaging that I wasn't worthy enough because I wasn't connected to it. It wasn't deep in my soul. It was coming out in sales calls. It was coming out in the lead gen process because it wasn't in full alignment. So if you're finding, and I always say this to everyone that I meet, regardless of if you're a coach that's trying to make, your first sale, or if you are a coach who's looking to go from making, 5 figures to 6 figures, or if you're a coach who's looking to go from 6 figures to multiple 6 figures, or multiple 6 figures to 7 figures, there's always a part of your brain and your mindset that has to shed, right? Because you have to step into this new version of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, instead of allowing that resistance, like instead of fighting the resistance, I allowed myself to lean in and say, okay, what is it that I need? Something in my mindset is not right. Something needs to be shifted and shed. So I think that's really what it is, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And at what point, so you shifted, right? And then it's like, okay, I need to be greater. I think there's a lot of self-worth buried in that. I think it's buried in a lot of
It's all
entrepreneurs.
self-worth. Yeah.
I do agree with
It's all self-worth.
I was like, okay, it's self-worth. And I love the business piece. So at what point, or how did you decide or come into alignment with, all right, this doesn't serve me anymore, and deciding to keep it, right, and move on? So that's one of the things that at NLBP that we're doing. It's launching with the summit in the new year. We have sole entrepreneurs, right, people that are just them, and this new division, because I've made the shift, and then that it kind of became this new one of how do you become the CEO, lead your brand, and still be an enlightened leader, right?
Yeah.
But kind of allow it that your baby to grow with a leadership staff, so you're not a part of your everyday, like a well-oiled machine, but you still love it. It's still your baby. It's like a grown-up child now, though, right? You don't need to tend to it all the time.
Exactly.
And, step into the CEO role, which is a total mindset change.
Complete mindset change. Complete mindset change. And I'll tell you, I think that there comes a moment that I had, right, when you feel like something needs to shift, like you have that awakening and you'll feel it, like your body will give you physical signs, right? I physically was sick, like my digestion was off. I'm like, something needs to shift. And when that moment arrives, you have to understand, like, because I toyed, it was a hard thing for me. I toyed with, do I just let this part of me go? But I had to look at, I was really successful in this business when the business coaching began, because my heart was there. Like my heart and my soul was in that business, and that's what created it, right? That's what stemmed everything from it. And because of that, like a piece of your heart doesn't always just like magically go away, right? It's just that you change and you evolve to becoming a new version of yourself. So because of that, I knew, I've built this nest egg from this space of heart. There's someone else that can come in and put their heart with it. And honestly, the master coach that I hired, Jess, she, I was the systems and processes girl. Like I really could give everybody everything they needed to start a business. And she, she's an NLP practitioner. She is certified in hypnotherapy. She's a timeline therapist. She has the mindset piece like so solid, which is what BBA didn't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really being able to find out, like, this was a part of my heart, but in order for this piece to continue to grow, I may not have what it needs, and it would be better suited for someone else's lane of joy to come in for it to blossom.
Yeah. That's a huge, huge maturity in your professional mindset, to say it doesn't have to be. I think that's any leader though, right? You have to be able to say, I need someone who's better than me in this specific space to lead from now on. Like I got it here, but I can't get it to where I want it to go. You be the vision, right? That's why I call myself the chief visionary. I just have the vision.
Yeah.
I really know how to get us there.
Right. Yeah. And when you step into that CEO position, like that shift of coming from solo entrepreneur to stepping into CEO, I want more than anything for my team to succeed. Like I want them to feel like their personality and what they bring to the table can shine.
Yeah.
So that was that's a different mindset when it's like, when you're so in your little bubble as an entrepreneur for so long, building your business, and then you get to see other people bloom and blossom as a part of it too. Like it's a beautiful thing about stepping into being that.
It's just letting go of your own ego. And I think there's a lot of ego and control when you're building a business, and kind of allowing it to go and just be, and knowing how to nurture it and the people running it. So how hard was it? This is for people building businesses. How hard is it? Because I have my own nightmare stories, to find the right people to baby your baby. Like, did you find it really hard to find that perfect master coach? Or even, I don't know if you have admins and other people on your team that are helping.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. I think it's
because
and sometimes as a CEO, and I can tell you, I had this conversation with somebody else on their podcast, so I don't have the recording, of how difficult it really is to find the right people, and the nightmare of going through sometimes a slew of them to fit, but it's also a learning process for you.
Right.
Like as you start to hire.
Yeah. So, so glad you brought that up, because it was very difficult. When I made the shift, and here's what happened. When I first recognized the shift needed to happen, but I hadn't fully landed in the shift, which we could talk more about that in a minute. I started to call in, like I remember my first 2 hires for my sales team were a nightmare. Like I threw so much money into training them, and then they both quit via text message like a month and a half in via text message. Like that's not, that just doesn't jive with who I am and the way that I run my business and my team. So before I had really landed in the shift and I had really practiced the art of surrender and knowing that the right people were going to make their way to me, it was like swimming against a current. I felt like I was swimming upstream because I was just trying to grasp anything that I could grasp. Like any person that came in that I felt like had a little glimmer of hope, I was bringing them in without clarity. But the moment that I landed and I realized, no, this is where I'm going to be in alignment. I'm now surrendering this part of my business to unfold the way that it needs to unfold. The right people just showed up. It was like they just dropped right into the positions that they needed to drop into. So finding, again, like that resistance at the beginning and thinking that I had control over absolutely everything without the surrender piece is what didn't work. Yeah,
I think that's so important. The allowing piece, which is hard as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell people, sometimes it's a part of my day to just not work.
Yeah.
And it'll come to me. I don't always have the answers, but I know it'll show itself.
Exactly. And you get to trust your gut as a CEO. And that's a hard thing, right? Like if you aren't trained in doing that, which I have a lot of training and listening to my intuition, but I knew as soon as I hired, let's just go back to those first 2 salespeople, that they were not the right fit for the job, but I didn't listen, right? Because I just wanted someone to take over sales right now. And I wanted it to be done.
I mean, I've made the same mistakes. Just knowing in my gut that it didn't feel good and doing it anyway.
Yeah. Well, and then the other piece, Camille, too, that I feel like you could probably resonate with, but I also want to express this to everyone that's listening, is that as a CEO, when something doesn't work out, like it's really easy for me to say, oh, these salespeople just didn't perform, or the coach that I brought in didn't perform. But what really makes you a solid CEO is asking yourself, okay, what about this do I need to take radical responsibility for, right? Like what did I do, or what did I project that allowed this to happen? Because everything is a reflection of you once you're a CEO. And the blame game doesn't work when you start to shift. There's nobody to blame but yourself.
Yeah. You got to look in the mirror. Totally true.
Yeah.
Totally true. And I think sometimes I catch myself, and I found myself doing it this week as I'm going through something in my company, just going, am I acting like a CEO right now? Right. And it was really funny because my shift that I remember so clearly the day I shifted, right? Because COVID changed a lot for me, and we can actually talk about how it affected your business as well. But coming out of it and having what I say, my board meeting, which was me, right? and realizing, because I had been a CEO for another brand, so I knew my job, but when I created this, I ran it completely different. And I had a board meeting with myself, And I was like, I would fire myself right now, right? I am not making decisions as a company CEO. I'm making decisions because it's my money, my company, my baby. And kind of sitting in that space, just going, okay, I can decide to change now and move forward, or I'm going to go under. So what's it look like? And just kind of taking those reins and going, yep, from now on, mentally, this isn't my company. I'm running a company.
Yeah.
And it was only a couple months ago that I literally took those reins in a much different way and shift. But once in a while, I have those talks with myself and be like, hey, are you being a CEO right now? Or are you going a little bit backwards?
Exactly. Well, and it's, you know, like I know my Ellie, right, who's my COO of my company.
Yeah.
It's knowing where your strengths and weaknesses are too.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, if you are not acting in your strengths and you know that there's someone else that is stronger, like I can speak a vision and that girl can execute it to a T. Right. But I have to ask myself too, like, was I not operating in a strength, but feeling like I needed to be in control of what was happening? And so I wasn't operating in my zone of genius. Right. And that's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, you've got to, at some point, have a board meeting with yourself first before it goes to the team, you know?
Am I acting in ego? Yeah. I lead by team. Like, I love surrounding myself with other people with other strengths. Same. And kind of just being, here's my vision. How the hell are we getting there? Like, and kind of talking it through and bringing it to the team, because that's how I lead.
Right.
I always did. So yeah, it's a much different.
It's a different ball game. But I don't know. I mean, I've met so many people who really struggle in their business, and they struggle because they feel like they can't release control, and they're not willing to have that real vulnerable conversation with themselves that, hey, guess what? You actually have weaknesses. Even though you are a CEO of a company and you are a founder of a company, you have weaknesses. Yeah. So honor them, you know, because once you honor them, it just gets easier. You're like, I'm not good at that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hand that off to somebody that is. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Good. So COVID, how did this 2020 year change your business, if any?
Honestly, Camille, this has been the best year for business. Like, hands down, has been my best year. When it hit, I feel like there were two types of people, right? There were the people that were saying, oh my gosh, this is going to destroy everything. And then there was other pool of people that said, oh my God, this is going to be an incredible opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I remember when it first hit, I was like, I need to do a mindset check, because where am I going to go? Because whichever way I go is going to determine the direction of my business.
Yeah.
And I decided to step into, this is going to be an incredible opportunity versus the other direction. And it has been. I mean, everybody is at home right now. Yeah. People that have corporate jobs are being laid off. And we as coaches, right, are here to help people navigate that. And the light workers are being called to the surface and are being pulled out of potential positions that they shouldn't have been in the first place. So that, to me, has been, I mean, it's incredible what's happened this year, COVID. And I don't know, I'm interested to hear your side of the story too, but COVID has done magical things for my business this year.
Yeah, I agree. I am very, very grateful for 2020 in so many respects, personally, professionally. But I will say the immediate shutdown, that first week or two, I didn't go into that holy crap. But I do have this knowing that all things always work out for me. So it was a holy crap, but it was okay. Let's get your stuff together. Let's dive deep. What's coming in? What's going out? How long can I live? Like, what does this look like? And I ended up creating a money mindset boot camp, teaching people how to shift that mindset, how to double their prices during COVID, how to, read P&Ls, read cash flow statements, forgive yourself. Like we went like, and so I went through it, and then I created a course, which will probably become my signature course because I don't have any courses. Never thought to even
Love it.
course, but I was really good at it. And people had phenomenal change, like phenomenal shifts. And I was like, all right, I think we got something here. I should put that over here, do something with it. Right. And which I haven't yet, but I will. So that was huge for me personally. It was shifting from small to big and taking a leap during COVID because they're just giving away money. So I took out loans, I did everything. And I was just like, I'm going big. Right. So now we opened a new division. I've trademarked it all. We have the summit, we have, and I'm hiring staff and, going large. So
I love it.
That's
how it happened for you.
I think for any entrepreneur, you looked at where's my opportunity here. You have to. You could not stay where you were. And I don't care who you are.
Right.
I was lucky that I already had an online business. So we didn't lose any members, but there was that first initial thought of, wow, I support a lot of small businesses, right? We could go under. But what happened is we pulled together, and because we're so soul-centered and such a supportive, loving community, everyone kind of came together and said, how can I help you? How can I help all of us? And we talked every week and we came together as community, and we have people doubling, tripling, quadrupling their businesses. We didn't lose any members because of it. And it just was like, whoa. And it made me realize what I did create and take ownership of that and be like, okay, what's next? We have to help more people. Like, how can?
And that's it right there. That's it. And that's what I keep telling people. If you are a coach in this industry right now, you are doing yourself and everyone else a disservice to not jump in fully, because people are hurting now more than they've ever hurt in their entire life. We have literally, COVID's done this beautiful thing where it has taken every single distraction away from people. You can't go to work. You can't go to dinner and eat and drink your feelings, right? You can't go excessively to the gym and run on the treadmill until you're blue in the face to try to suppress. Like, people are literally left at home to deal with themselves. Right? So it's like, you took that opportunity to understand people need help right now. They're going to need it. And like, I'm a beacon to be able to give them that help. And I think that is what, if every coach that is out there building a business, I don't care what stage you're in, if you are under this whole mindset of, gosh, I'm stuck, like, invest in getting unstuck, because the world needs it. Like, the world needs coaching now more than they've ever needed it, because people are dying, like literally dying, not just because of COVID, but because they're stuck without the tools that they need to be able to process their life and live fulfilled.
Yeah. And I think for my particular community and people like you and I that are very soul-centered or spiritually grounded, this is a time of awakening, a time of saying, maybe I don't want this corporate job anymore. Maybe this, makes my heart sing, brings me joy. And that's the lane I want to go in. How do I do it? Where do I find it? I find with most entrepreneurs, and I'm sure you know this, well, actually we've said it, that, their personal stuff is so dovetailed into their business. So if you don't feel worthy, in your
everywhere,
you're not feeling worthy in your business. If you're not feeling, it's that same kind of thing. And we have to work on all of it to uncover. But even in the money mastery bootcamp, I don't know what I called it. 6-figure soul bootcamp, I think I called it. But it was really the mindset. We do like the inner work, the outer work, and the higher work.
Yeah.
That's what I did. So, but where your beliefs come from, right? And it's really hard to build a business around that. But I think for that soul-centered person there, I just think of this as like a mass awakening.
It is.
And I think 2021 is gonna be like, we're on this path now, right? I think the door just swung open hard. And I'm starting to see people connect community. So I always pick a word for every year. And I asked my community to do it as well. And we do it the first, what we call Coffee with Camille, every, the first week of the month, or the year, sorry. And my word last year was relationships. So I always have a theme, and it's in every single thing I do. So I taught people, how do you create relationships? How do you have conversations? How do you make a series of questions? You know, how do you turn relationships into sales? How do you close sales? But it was all about relationships. And the funny thing is, as COVID hit, you saw the relationships that were important to you. If you didn't have real relationships outside of social media, you saw that your business really wasn't going to work. Right. And as I'm coming out, like, I created better relationships through the summit, and now all my summit speakers send me new speakers. Right. So I'm opening up this portal of people just going, wow, this is incredible that I can tap into now all of these new people. Right. So I think that theme is just so great. And I think 2020 was really about relationships for a lot of people.
It absolutely was.
About creating what was important. Like, family became important. My kids were always important, but it was a totally different relationship to finally, like, all of a sudden have them all home, you know, together again. Like,
yeah,
it's just been an incredible year, I think.
I completely agree. And even the relationship with yourself, right? Like, how much deeper have you come into alignment with who you are?
Deeply spiritual. Like,
right.
I always have been, but now I'm literally searching for people to align with, to bring me even higher.
Same.
You know, and to surround myself with those people. And I'm even thinking of bringing into the community just like spiritual discussions at a deeper level, you know, books and that's, you know, but it's
all a part of it.
Work in progress.
It's so true. I mean, the spiritual part too, Camille, I mean, it's, if you do not have a strong spiritual practice, you aren't in full alignment, like, period. Right. And that spiritual practice doesn't mean that you have to go to church, but you need to have, and I want to preface that by saying, like, it doesn't mean that you have to be a part of a religion. It means that you need to know what spirit means to you. And that is, I mean, that's the icing on the cake. Like, that brings everything that you want for yourself into your reality.
Yeah.
It really does.
I totally agree. So, Lauren, what's next for you?
Oh my gosh, so much. So I am actually coming up with a 2-day live event that's releasing at the end of February called the Align Love Project. Okay. So there'll be information coming out about that soon. It's going to be a 2-day live event with a whole series of speakers talking all about, attracting love into your life and stepping into full life alignment. So that's really exciting. That's happening at the end of February. Other than that, my podcast, I have a podcast called the Balance Boss Podcast that is shifting to the Align Love Podcast. So that's happening at the beginning of the year. And I just released my VIP experience for high performing executive women. It's 3 months working with me one-on-one to call in the one. So find the one that you want to do life with. And I give you all of the tools to make it happen. So that's what's going on in my world right now, which is exciting.
That's very exciting. Very exciting. So thank you, Lauren, for your time today. I so appreciate this. It's a great discussion. And I really do believe that we're touching a lot of people out there that needed to hear at exactly the time they're listening.
Completely agree. Thank you so much, Camille. It was so fun.
You are welcome. To our listeners, if you have any questions about this or you absolutely love it, please let us know in the comments or contact us. Just let us know, especially if you have any questions or comments for Lauren herself. We're happy to tap into her and get something answered if you need to. You can also join us in our Facebook group for any discussions after this time. So thank you for joining us and being a part of it. I'm looking for the button to stop. Okay, there we go. Okay. Bye, everyone.